we're going to start off. We've got a couple of really great tools and resource demonstrations today. And so we're going to get started with, we'll be joined by Jane Van Zyl, who is the CEO of Working Families. Jane will be giving an overview of their virtual chatbot, which helps to better match what their clients are looking for on the advice pages of their website and the language that they use to search. Jane, over to you. Thanks for joining us.
We offer a free legal advice service to working parents and carers. Our mission is to remove the barriers that working parents and carers face in the workplace. We are also very lucky that we have an employer services team who sell services to organizations, forward-looking organizations, progressive organizations who want to build and sustain flexible and family-friendly workplaces. So that's where we get a lot of our money. As far as our legal advice team is concerned, we're mostly supported by trusts and foundations and a little bit of restricted individual donor work. So those are the things that we do. And our legal advice service have won awards. They're great. Hopefully you've all heard of us. So this is essentially what we do. We've got 200 advice pages on our website. We've got a tiny team. We are also very lucky that we work with quite a lot of law firms. When our clients call us, they tend to use our website form. They put that form, they fill out the form on our website. We then anonymize it, put it on a Trello platform, and our pro bono volunteer solicitors can pick that up. One of our challenges that we have is that when we look at the responses, because we're carrying the legal insurance for the advice that we give, what we're finding is that if those answers aren't good enough, it takes away from our ability to increase the number of responses that we can respond to, because there is some supervision that needs to happen. So we're currently working with our pro bono senior solicitors to work out how we can better improve that, and what are the kind of things that we should be doing in order to ensure that people picking up those queries on Trello and responding to them have a vague idea what they're doing. I've recently been speaking to somebody at Citizens Advice who are doing some really, really interesting things with AI. And they're currently working with the Cabinet Office to see whether this is Citizens Advice overall, working with the Cabinet Office to see if this is something that might be able to be rolled out. But in essence, what it does is it picks up a query, checks it against the Citizens Advice Bureau web pages to make sure that it is correct, or to flag it for this needs human supervision and human intervention. And so that is one of the things that we as an organization have been wanting to do this year. I'm just going to flick through these slides and I'll make them available for you afterwards. So what we became aware of was that although we have 1 million unique visitors to our advice pages, our 200 plus advice pages, our challenge is that some of them could, that of the 1,700 people that we were able to respond to last year in person, who have what we define as least access to justice, tend to be lower incomes, might be single parents, may have issues because, as we all know, 40% of universal credit claimants are in work, and we do some in-work benefits. Some of the challenge was that actually some of those people might have been able to be helped just by going to our advice pages, but our search engine isn't great. So if you use Google, you can find the pages that you want, but it doesn't necessarily take you perfectly to where you want it to be. So one of the things that we've been doing this year, and I'm afraid to say it's been a bust, has been working with an organization to see if we could get better searchability on our advice pages, because, as I say, there are 200 of them. And what we were interested to see was, what is the language that our clients are using to search for those pieces of advice versus what is coming up from the advice pages. Again, because we are insured to provide legal advice, and the legal insurance rests on the fact that we are employing people with practicing certificates, everybody within the organization, and particularly everybody within the team, is wanting to make sure that all of the information that we give is absolutely accurate. So we never want to send people down rabbit holes, and we never want to waste clients' time by telling them things that are not the case. So that's what we've been doing over the last year. And unfortunately, what we've discovered is that it is not working. So one of the things that we've been doing then is looking at how we can use AI to improve that searchability. And it's one of the things that we are now going to be talking to a couple of people who support us, most notably two organizations that have been hugely helpful to us this year. One is JP Morgan's Force for Good, and the other is the Scottish Tech Army. And I can't praise those organizations highly enough. It's been extraordinary having them support us. So I've got a presentation which shows you all of the data that we've collected last year on our advice service. We use Advice Pro as our case management system, and we were lucky enough to get some support from Pro Bono Economics. One of their volunteers looked at our data and helped us understand everything that was coming out of that data. I'll load that data in the chat so that you can all see it. And I'm going to stop sharing. So does anyone have any questions?
Welcome to pop questions in the chat if anyone has any. We have a bit of time. I'm trying to see if I see any hands.
Kirsty raised her hand.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Kirsty, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the plug, Jane. That was very, very kind of you. Could you give us a bit more information about why the what you were trying to do didn't work? Was it just that it didn't understand the language, or it was misinterpreting or reinterpreting the language in a different way?
We worked with an organization to create what we wanted to call a virtual chatbot. We did some co-creation work with the parents and carers who use our service, and also with the parents and carers on our panel. And they were very, very clear with us that nobody wanted a chatbot. Nobody wanted the sense that they weren't being supported by a person. So what we wanted then to do was to create the ability for people to search our pages out of hours, essentially, but not that they would feel that they were not being supported by an individual. And so we approached an organization to work with us. We got some references from some other charities who were slightly different from us. They were mostly mental health charities who were trying to provide support to people, again, out of hours. And we felt these were the right people to go with. Unfortunately, we are 6 months in and we still do not have a working prototype. And they have managed to send, we did have a test model running, and they managed to send one of the queries to an external website, which was talking about well-being. So obviously for us, that is a complete and utter nightmare. So we have spent hours and hours and hours looking at what the frequently asked questions might be and how those frequently asked questions might be answered by the pages on our website. But we are now pulling the plug. And obviously, I'm not going to be talking about the organization themselves because I've got a conversation later on today with our chief exec. But for us, the real challenge is, how do we get that information to our clients in a way that works for them and makes sense for them? As a non-solicitor myself, I'm a generalist, not a specialist. I find some of the language that we use on our pages, you know, I have to kind of think about it a couple of times before I truly understand what it's saying. So, you know, in a perfect world, what I want is to translate every single one of our pages into plain English, but frankly, that's just not possible, particularly because we're providing legal advice.
Thank you. I'll plug that one in the back of my head. You and I should probably have a conversation later.
Yes, thank you, Kirsty.
Thank
We will.
Cheers.
Thank you, Kirsty. Did we have any other questions for Jane?
I had a question. Sorry, I can't find my hand to raise. Jane, just first of all, thank you so much for sharing your experience of this with the group. We see in this group kind of a lot of developments and updates and products and prototypes and stuff like that, but it's really important to share what's not working as well. So I'm really keen to hear from you if you have any kind of, what was the key issue? You know, we talked about, was it a lack of understanding about what you were asking for, or do you think that kind of this organization just weren't equipped enough to deal with the problems that you were experiencing? Do you have any sense of why it went wrong?
Yes, I think they, although we explained over and over and over again, and I can't emphasize enough how much time this has taken the team, and shared with them the advice pages and looked at, you know, and said there were 200 pieces of information here which absolutely cover 99% of what we do, and we keep them regularly updated. I don't think they did enough due diligence into what it was that we wanted. And, you know, just to give Kirsty another plug, the joy of working with Scottish Tech Army was that we presented them with a problem and they came up with a solution. For me, I think what certainly I would say what I did was I heard about this. I thought it was a great idea. I went to a number of charities who were using it. And then we got into bed with an organization. And actually, it's, you know, obviously lots of it is down to me, that they didn't understand what we wanted. And they couldn't kind of get enough under our skin to see what it was that we wanted to deliver for our clients. And I also think one of the challenges for small charities of working with larger organizations or commercial organizations is that I'm not sure they understand actually quite how good we are. But they also don't understand how much internal operational support we do not have. And that a lot of what we do is, you know, kind of in the background held together with sticky tape. But certainly I think, you know, I was so keen to push this forward, partly because the team who deliver the service gets so exhausted from the kind of emotional content, that I really wanted to be able to provide clients with a faster response, but also for my team to be spending all of that emotional energy, intelligence on actually the clients.
Great, thank you so much, Jane. Just for time, I'm going to move us on, but Amanda, I do see you have your hand up. If you put your question in the chat, perhaps Jane could respond there. I also saw that I think Paul had a question, so it'd be great, Jane, if you could address some of those in the chat. And just to flag that we do have Kirsty presenting in a little bit too, so it's going to be great to hear from Tech for Good Alliance as well. So moving on, we're going to turn now to Tamsin Kilby-Jones and Neil Moffat, who work at Wiser, which focuses on digital transformation. They will be giving an overview of Wiser's services and products and providing a demonstration as well. So Tamsin and Neil, over to both of you.
So morning, everyone, and thanks very much for having us here. Jane, that was a really, really interesting insight to where implementing technology has been difficult and where it perhaps hasn't worked so well. I would love to have a chat with you about how we do things differently and how perhaps that whole problem that you've got could be approached, and hopefully you'll find out a little bit from our presentation about maybe a slightly different way of trying to solve what I think it is that you're trying to solve. So it'd be fab to have a conversation afterwards. So I'll hand over to Neil to kick us off, and we'd like to tell you about Wiser.
Morning, everyone. It's great to be here and have the opportunity to introduce you to Wiser and our solutions designed for high demand advice giving services for both public and private sector. My name is Neil Moffat. I'm the CTO at Wiser, which means I'm in charge of the technology.
And I'm Tamsin, and I'm the product manager at Wiser. So we're just a small company. There's only 25 people at the moment, although we are growing quickly. But we are absolutely passionate about realizing the benefits of AI and digital transformation. Our focus is mainly on improving productivity and increasing capacity to help organisations in the UK reduce backlogs, enhance data quality, and improve the general customer experience. So at the heart of what we offer are a set of bespoke AI models that are trained on very specific data sources. Our technical experts are supported by a team of highly experienced digital transformation specialists, and we work closely with companies to get to the root cause of the issues that they've got before implementing our solution to try and resolve those. Our products and approach to consultancy are supported by both industry and government-backed research, including funders such as Innovate UK and Civtech. Our clients include Citizens Advice Scotland, ACAS, and the Motor Ombudsman. We believe that by bringing together the latest in trustworthy, ethical, and accurate AI, alongside wider people-centric digital transformation, we can improve access to justice, and we can enable UK organisations to deliver the best possible outcomes for the greatest number of people. Our presentation is about 12 minutes, and in a bit we include a short interactive section which uses Slido. So if you've got a device available that you can use to scan a QR code, then you'll be able to take part in a little Slido game that we've put together just to demonstrate how our AI service works. So what drives Wiser? In an ever complex world, as governments are stepping back from providing a safety net, demand for expert advice is growing exponentially, as we've just heard. But this is becoming a problem. Because of falling budgets, free-to-use services are overwhelmed, people can't get through, they give up, or they're left in long backlogs. And while average disposable income has risen, the cost of living has risen at a higher rate. So the majority of people can't afford to pay for advice and are looking for free-to-use services to help them through stressful times. This has resulted in many gaps. I mean, there's just a couple of examples here: ineligibility for legal aid, lack of access to financial advice, and lack of access to just general advice about some of the issues that people come up against in their daily lives. All of these could be improved by better access to expert advice and guidance. So we can help facilitate better access by increasing capacity and by improving productivity through the use of AI. Let me introduce you to our product suite. First of all, we have Wiser Inform. This is a next generation chatbot which facilitates a two-way text-based conversation between the service user and the chatbot. This is different from standard chatbots in that we're using your data as the database that the chatbot is using to give the information back to the client. Excuse me. And we can take in voice data as well here. So conversations that have happened over the phone between clients and advisors, which tend to take place in perhaps more natural language and is sometimes available on web pages. We can use all that when we're providing the service and providing answers to the service user. Then we have Wiser Assign, which routes cases, improves triage by routing cases to the most appropriate advisor without human intervention, or potentially to the most appropriate service if we're set up in a multi-service environment. Then we have Wiser Assist, which automates note-taking, case assessment and case entry, and it removes the admin burden of needing to write up a case from an advisor post-call. Although it doesn't take away anything around reviewing that case, we always give the human the ability to review what's been written before that goes into the system. And then Wiser Insight categorizes the information and can help provide more consistent data for reporting and onward case management. One of the key themes being discussed currently is the prevalence of bias within AI models and what actions companies like Wiser can and should take to ensure that our models are fair and unbiased. Wiser have recently been awarded a £1 million Innovate UK grant to continue our research around reducing bias in artificial intelligence models. This focuses on speech-to-text functionality. You'll find that many generic models in use today are trained largely in the US, and there's less focus on the suitability of these products when dealing with the range of accents that we hear in the UK. This results in lower quality transcriptions of conversations, especially where participants have got strong regional accents. In collaboration with various organisations, our research will gather audio samples across the UK, and we'll then use these samples to train our models to recognise and transcribe different accents with a high degree of accuracy, more so than is possible with generic models. So Wiser Solutions use AI to support advisors and service users. What we'd like to do now is just show you an example of how we do this using our Assist product. So just as a reminder, our software listens to discussions between advisors and service users. We transcribe these spoken conversations into text. We then summarize each case and allocate a reporting or category code if required, and then automatically pre-populate the organization's case management system. The advisor only needs to review the pre-populated text for accuracy and completeness, and we can save admin time by up to 90% depending on the complexity of the call. Okay.
To bring this to life, here's the first 60 seconds of a training scenario, which we've transcribed.
Right, right, my friend told me I was to come in, I was to see you, and I was to get a PIP form and I'd be able to get a benefit, and it's because I'm not well and I'm not working at the moment, but I have got a job, so what can you do for me?
Right. First of all, there's a couple of separate issues there. You've said that your neighbour advised you because your illnesses you might apply for a PIP form. And there's
yeah, my neighbour's got PIP, so she said I'd be able to get it.
Right, so there's a process for that. Regarding you working, there's two different sides to that. There's one where how's your employment affected by it, another one is for benefits that are relevant for your working,
yeah,
if you're off sick or that.
I can't work just now, I can't work it's too hard for me to work. I don't know what benefits I'm entitled to.
Now, for that, I would suggest probably you would better come in as a separate issue for a benefits check.
So do I have to come in twice then for the same thing?
No, it would be two separate appointments.
After transcribing the full call, we then identify who is the caller and who is the advisor. It's not necessarily who spoke first. And then in order to summarize the issue, we then pick out who was the caller, so we can do it from a caller perspective. We then summarize the same call, but this time in order to pick out the advice given by the advisor. And as you can see, these produce two different summaries for the same call. We also classify the call in order to assist our client in identifying underlying issues such as cost of living. All this is then reviewed by an advisor before being stored in their existing CRM, so they have a chance to make any corrections.
So just to dig a bit deeper into how these products can help organisations. Our Assist product, it removes the need for experts to take notes throughout client conversations, which can improve the client-advisor relationship by enabling the advisor to be more present. We can reduce admin time by writing up conversations automatically. Our models can be trained to capture the key points that are relevant to a specific sector or service based on previous data to ensure important information is not missed. Our Sign product can reduce the amount of time cases spend in triage, allowing client issues to be addressed more quickly before they escalate. And with Insight, codes for reporting are applied more consistently, resulting in a more complete and useful data set. These efficiency improvements give the organisations providing advice a time saving that can equate up to 25% increase in capacity without increasing headcount. So we've come to our Slido game now. So on this slide, you can see a link to Slido. You can either use the QR code and scan it, or you can use the link to join in with the quiz. We've got 5 questions, and for each question, you'll have 2 summaries, both of the same call, one written by a human and one written by our AI model. What we'd like you to do is to decide which you think is the better summary, and then we'll have a look at the results afterwards. So I'll just give you a few seconds to get logged in. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. You can keep joining. The QR code will remain up. So if you're not joined and you still want to, that's fine. You can join at any time. I will move on to the first question. Okay, so 95% thought that call B was the better summary. And in this case, call B was done by our AI model. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Okay. So 68% think that summary B is the better option. And in this case, summary B was again written by the AI model. Next question, question 3. Hopefully this isn't going too quickly for everyone. Okay. In this case, 86% thought B was better. In this case, it was summary A that was done by the AI. And question 4. Bit more of an even split on this one. So in this case, it's summary B that was done by the AI. And then finally, question 5. Question A is the favorite, summary A is the favorite, and in this case, A was done by the AI. So thank you for that. And I guess the purpose of that is just to show you that in most cases, AI is able to provide a summary of equal quality, and in some cases, it's able to provide a better summary than the human did. But crucially, we'll never take away the opportunity for a human to review what the AI suggested is the right text. We're not here to take away jobs. We're here to take away some of the admin from the things that people need to deal with on a daily basis to enable those people to spend more time helping other people. So just a quick recap. Our solution uses AI to support advisors and service users by reducing time spent on admin. We can increase the capacity of it up to 25% with no increase in headcount. And this meets the demand for expert advice, which is growing exponentially. And we think the potential applications for this are enormous and really exciting. So this is just a lovely picture of our team here and some of the clients that we work with and some of the organizations that we've partnered with. And then on the next slide, if you want to have a look at our website, feel very free to have a look. Just to let you know, the website's in the process of being updated. So over the next couple of weeks, there'll be a lot more information there about our products and services. And if you want to contact me direct, my email is there on screen. Thank you very much for listening. If you've got any questions.
Thank you so much, Tamsin. That was brilliant. It was great to have that demonstration as well. I think for sake of time, what we're going to do is move on, but Paul, I see that you do have a question. Is it possible for you to pop it in the chat? Is that okay? Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. So feel free, anybody, as I've been saying, put any questions that you've got in the chat. Tamsin and Neil will be able to answer them, and we'll make sure we pick these up in the follow-up as well. So thank you so much again for that brilliant presentation. We are thrilled to welcome back Raj Panesar, who is the founder of LawFairy. Raj will be giving us an update on the platform which transforms complex document production with the power of deep automation. Raj, it's great to have you back.
So I'll only give a demo of what I've shown you before if you actually want to see it. But there's been quite a lot going on. So the background of LawFairy is that we're basically a for-profit company, but only on the corporate side. The stuff that we do on the pro bono side is completely for free. And the philosophy is that we repurpose the really extraordinary technology that we built for corporate work and make sure it does social good as well. So we first automated the building of a housing application letter to get emergency housing or long-term housing. We used fantastic resources that were already available on the web provided by Shelter and Law for Life. There's some really good stuff out there which we used as backup, and then there was no ultimate replacement for the research that we needed to do on the Housing Act as well. So what we've done is we've created a triage tool that will, and it's designed to help the people working in legal clinics mainly. So it's a little bit like the Wiser model, where we want to help people get access to more efficient service from the people who are actually serving at the sharp end. So you go through a questionnaire, and it's very, very structured, but it's very, very simple as well. So it's at the top level, it's like a swan, but underneath it's just going completely nuts with the technology to work out what needs to be asked next. Once that's been filled in, you press a button and it literally produces a beautiful summary of everything, the whole situation with analysis as well. And then you can just push another button and it will actually write the letter to the council. And it's super, super slick. We've taken that model into the immigration space, and we've developed a tool it's sponsored by Hogan Lovells, and we built it with the help of Kids in Need of Defense, who are going to be the first charity who are going to use it. And it's to essentially work out eligibility for undocumented children. And then we're also in discussions to build something on the PIP side, although we're very conscious of the brilliant work that Law for Life have done on this, and we don't want to do anything that really prejudices that fantastic work. So we want to do that in the right way. We're really happy to work with charities who want to battle test the housing tool in particular. That's the one that's most ripe for being battle tested by people. We'd love to work with charities, with legal clinics who want to use that. And so that's kind of the update of where we're at. We're building a shed load of stuff on the corporate side as well, which is very exciting. And hopefully that's going to help fund building more products on the social justice side. But if I just pause and let people come in with questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Raj, I've got a question, which is just a bit general, but what have you found the implementation process of has been like for your tools at the front line?
Yeah, it's a good question. The immigration one is currently being battle tested by the charity. It's not filed yet. The housing one was going to be used by Toynbee Hall, but like many charities, I think people are just having difficulty dealing with their own stuff at the moment. So it's ready to be battle tested. It hasn't yet been battle tested, and we're willing to work with people to get that to get that done. So it's just step by step. I mean, what we're not doing is waiting. You know, we've got so much work to do on the corporate side to actually create a fully funded situation. We're not marketing this. I mean, we get on calls like this, but actually, you know, when we're not heavily marketing it. So if people want it, people want to use it, people think there's use for it, and there is, then you know, they need to come to us, and we'll work with them to make sure that it hits the front line in the way that they want. So I think there's some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I see one from Natalia. Could you tell us some more about the immigration letters?
Yeah, so that's at the moment, what that'll do is it'll ask questions around relationships with family, their history, all of that sort of stuff, to work out whether there's actually a basis to make an application for citizenship in the UK. And at the moment, it will answer that question whether there's an eligibility basis or not. The next step will be to build that out, to actually fill in the form to do that. Although, you know, the government makes it notoriously difficult. You know, if they want to collect taxes, and I've said this to the Ministry of Justice directly, and I've said it to anybody else in government who's willing to listen. But they make it very easy to collect taxes because that's their revenue stream. But they make it very difficult for people to provide information by way of an API to hand out benefits. And I just think that needs to change. I just think that just needs to change. It's really that simple. Otherwise, it makes it very difficult for people who want to do good like us to build products that can actually facilitate the process. I think that question was from the Ministry of Justice. So here's my plea again.
Thank you. Julie, do you have a question?
Hi, Raj. I put my question in the chat, but I'm just interested to know whether it can integrate with other systems. It seems extremely useful. But say, for instance, the housing application emergency letter you said is for legal clinics, but I can see it has potential as part of another process. And similarly, the what you're working with Kind could easily integrate with with other sorts of triage processes. So just interested to know how it might work in with other systems. Thanks.
Yeah, no, we haven't done any integrations with any other systems yet. Nobody's asked for any specific integrations yet, but we're open to it. I mean, what we want to do is make sure that we do this stuff in a way that delivers the best good. And so if there was an integration that people thought were useful and it's practicable, we're really, you know, very happy to explore that, to see how to execute that in a cost-effective way.
Thank you.
Did anybody else have any last questions for Raj? I don't see any hands.
Just one final point, if I may. One of the things that's really valuable about this platform in the way that we built it is that it's not hallucinogenic, right? It's completely deterministic, which means that it's accountable, which means that if it screws something up, we fix it, it'll never happen again, right? And for when you're really at the sharp end of helping people, that's got huge value, right? So we're taking the time to build this slowly, but in a way that really delivers high quality. And the reason, you know, why are we taking that approach? Because the corporate side has to be done that way, right? If you're doing elite level work on the corporate side, you've got to make sure it's not hallucinogenic. And that's you know, so using AI responsibly, I think, is really good. And that's what I love about what, you know, Wise is doing and what Jane's been talking about. It's like trying to keep their AI on a short leash, and I think that's really important.
Great, thank you so much. Well, if anybody else has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Raj, if you could keep an eye on that and see if anyone asks questions. It was really great. Oh, I see Kirsty has a quick question about if it's available in Scotland.
It's available wherever people want it. It'll need to be adapted for the Scottish legal framework, but that is, we're not ruling it out. Is that if Scotland is the first place that wants it, needs it, then we can work with the subject matter experts to update it for that market.
Great, thank you. Roger, it was really great to have you back. That's a great segue, because next up we are thrilled to be joined by Kirsty McIntosh, who is the head of partnerships at the Tech for Good Alliance. The Tech for Good Alliance is a UK-wide initiative of the Scottish Tech Army, which provides a framework to encourage and enable the development of skilled tech volunteering programs as part of the corporate social responsibility activities of companies in the tech and tech-related sectors. Kirsty, take it away.
Thank you very much, Emmeline, and it's great to be here. Thank you very much for the time. It's nice to meet everybody. Yes, as Emmeline was saying there, I don't have any slides, by the way. I'll put a guide for you at the end here. I really just wanted to tell you the story of who we are and what we do, and let you know that we are here to help you if you want to take advantage of that. And as I said earlier, we've had a really great experience working with Jane Von Zyl at Working Families, and a good example of the work that we do. In essence, what we are is a not-for-profit that was started during the pandemic literally as a crisis response initiative in Scotland to bring skilled and furloughed tech professionals who were sitting at home wanting to help in the emergency but not really having any means by which to do so, and obviously a charity sector that was having to go digital in a heck of a hurry. But it's one of those things where we would never be able to create an organization like that today. It was the crisis, it was the pandemic that actually sort of catalyzed it. We had 120 volunteers within 24 hours. We had 700 within 5 weeks. We've never really stopped with that. We've got over 3,000 registered volunteers now as individuals. They're not all active. About 1,100 have obviously worked on projects for over 300 organizations. What we try to do is to help a charity to understand the problem that they've got, or what it is they're actually trying to achieve, and whether or not technology would make that possible. Sometimes tech is not the answer to the challenge that's presented to them. We do not seek to undermine the tech sector. We're not interested in biting the hand that feeds us. We generally tend to work with organizations to help them with things that they would never either get funding for, or probably wouldn't be able to find a business that would be willing to kind of work with them. Our volunteers get a great deal of satisfaction out of their ability to contribute back into civil society with the skills and the expertise that they have. And last year, what we did was we launched something called the Tech for Good Alliance, which was a UK-wide initiative to engage with businesses, with corporates that give their employees volunteering time. And we provide a framework particularly around tech skilled volunteering, because it's very difficult when all you've got is 2 or 3 days a year to volunteer with a tech project, because an awful lot of work has to be done before you get to play with the tech, if you like. So you need to actually work very closely with the charity to understand the problem that they've got, identify what the solution is going to be, and the capacity within that charity to manage that solution once they've got it. And effectively, that's what we do as an organisation. Is our team that works with the charity, goes through all of that sort of discovery phase, make sure that the charity is happy with what the potential solution is going to be. And then what we do is we break down the delivery of that solution into work packages, effectively, that we can take to corporates and say, okay, we need a team of UX designers to do this thing, and it's going to take them a day. And it gives those employees an opportunity to contribute their skills for good in a way that really makes them feel that they have had an impact, rather than spending 60% of their time trying to figure out what it is that they need to be doing. We only started it last year. We've got around 7 or 8 major companies on board at the moment, but it is a UK-wide initiative rather than just a Scottish one. We don't pretend to be experts in every field. One of the interesting experiences I've had over the last few months is this kind of panic, if you like, in the charity sector about how we must all be using artificial intelligence. And I think sometimes it's quite nice just to kind of take a little bit of a deep breath and say, well, yes, but do we really need it right now? And are there other things that we need to be doing first before we start looking at engaging with some of those tools? I was at the Association of Chief Officers annual conference, which is the Scottish Charity Leaders Conference, a couple of weeks ago, and somebody used the expression additional intern instead of artificial intelligence, and saying actually it's one of the ways to approach it was to, if you wouldn't give it to an additional intern, then you shouldn't be giving it to artificial intelligence. But we always say, as you can imagine, you know, with some of our alliance members, they've got a great deal of interest in AI and how it might be able to benefit the charity sector. One of the things that we are very, very clear about within the Scottish Tech Army and within the Tech for Good Alliance is we're looking for common challenges often. We're looking to provide tools that multiple organizations can potentially use. So, you know, where perhaps you've got advisory charity doing something in London, the same thing's probably happening in Manchester and Leeds and maybe even Wick in the north of Scotland. And actually, if there's something that we can do to develop something that all of those organizations can use, then that can only be a good thing. So one of the rules, if you like, at the Tech Army is that whatever we build is open source. And if somebody wants to use it as well, then they can do so. And our corporate partners sign an agreement to that effect. So if they create something new, then we make it available open source to any charity that could benefit from it. And I think that's a really important thing, is you often find that a company will come along, they'll do a great thing for a charity, the charity really benefits from it, they go their separate ways, but actually that thing they built could have benefited 400 other charities as well. But it's neither the charity's responsibility nor the business's responsibility to go and find those other 499 charities. But an organization like ours can do that. We can be aware that that technology is available and go and find charities who we think that it might benefit as well. We're not interested in making tech for tech's sake. We often feel that there's an awful lot of tech out there that's already been built, and it's really a case of saying, well, you know, what problem have you got? What is it you're trying to resolve? Let's go and have a look and see if we can find the right piece of solution that's already out there for you and help you to implement it. And we often have conversations with some of the funders to say, when somebody comes and asks for a new tech solution, could you have a kind of a rummage around in the toolbox of tech that's already out there first? And if it's already exists, then perhaps fund the implementation of it and the training for it and things like that, or even the broadband connectivity that allows you to have access to it, because that's how we think that you can build capacity into the charity sector. The only thing that we ever ask for of the charities when they're asking us for help is not to come at us with a solution, is actually to come at us with a problem, and we'll meet you where you are. You know, this is what I can't do, and if I could do this, this is the impact it would have on my organization. And that's what we do. Is we're not here to have fun with you. This isn't a game for techies just to have a jolly nice time. We are genuinely trying to provide assistance to a sector that we know is never going to get the funding and the skill base that it's going to need in many respects, not least because every time somebody upskills in data analysis, the tech sector goes and nicks them. So so you know, we know that there's a leaky bucket, if you like, when it comes to that kind of thing within the third sector. And all I would say finally is, in the 3.5 I volunteered, I was the third volunteer to the Scottish Tech Army, and in the near 4 years actually that we have been in existence, it never ceases to amaze me how generous our volunteers are with their willingness to sit down, shut up, and listen to a charity tell them what the problem is, so that they can then turn around and say, actually, we think this might be the solution for you. They love it. They get a great deal from it as well. It's definitely a win-win. And the businesses who allow us to tap into their volunteering networks as well within their businesses, there's business benefit in there as well, because happy volunteers make happy employees, and they get to keep them, and that's an important part as well, as it gives them a certain element of consistency within their workforce. It's just another tool for them to retain their and inspire their employees. But as I say, I've got a guide for how to do all of this, and I'm very happily share it with Emmeline. It's a very simple 2 or 3 pages of this is what we need from you, and a link to our ask for help page. And if anybody would like to talk to me about those common challenges within the environment that you operate in, we'd love to have a conversation around that. I think it's a really efficient way of providing tools that are perhaps specific to your area of expertise, but that actually multiple charities could benefit from, because then the reach and the impact of what you do is further increased. Thanks for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kirsty. And yeah, if you send me that guide, I'll be sure to include any of that in the follow-up as well. I didn't know if anybody has any questions, but if not, I actually had a question for you, so maybe I'll jump in. I know we've talked about this a lot. I think the idea of kind of reusing tools that are already out there is really important. And so I didn't know if you could say just a couple words about this open sourcing process, and what that looks like. And do you have a repository of the different tools that you use? Do you how you match people with tools that already exist if you see that it fits their problem? I'd be really interested to learn a little bit about.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of it's to do with it's not so much about creating new tools. It's about having a chat with a charity who says that they're trying to do something, and then realizing that that actually there's a word for that, if you like, and it's a techie word for it, and the charity doesn't know it. So if I use an example, during the early days of the pandemic, we were contacted by a health and social care organisation in Aberdeenshire that had multiple care homes effectively, and they had more PPE than Nick Hancock, frankly, and they didn't really know how to distribute it properly. And they were, one care home was receiving too many gloves and not enough aprons, and everybody was trying to manage the whole thing with multiple spreadsheets, and they were having to report back into two councils in Aberdeenshire Council and Aberdeen City Council, and both those councils wanted the information in different ways, and things like that, and the whole thing was just an absolutely horrific nightmare. And really all that was an inventory management system. So we used a piece of open source software called Odoo, O-D-O-O, that had an inventory management system capability within it, and effectively built them what looked like an Amazon shop with no prices on it, so that the care homes themselves were able to say, I need this, I need that, I need the next thing. And it all just basically fed in, and the data was all sitting in the same place effectively, and they were able to pull that information out and provide it to the two councils in different ways. They were able to manage their stock levels. They were able to make sure that they weren't having to make multiple van journeys to lots of different places. Fast forward a year, and we're contacted by another charity in Perthshire in central Scotland, or north central Scotland, who ran an amazing project called the Tampon Taxi. So Perthshire is a very rural county, and they were basically, what the charity was doing was they provided an opportunity for people to ask for free period products, but they would actually deliver them to their homes in discrete packages, and they had this kind of army, if you like, of drivers effectively that would go around and sort of drop these little parcels off at people's homes. And there were lots of different reasons why they wanted to do it. There were people that were in care, there were people that were in foster homes, there were people who were young girls that were living with their dad and didn't want to ask him about any of this kind of stuff, and it was giving them an opportunity for that as well. But they were using text messaging, WhatsApp groups, email, and a form on their website for people to be able to give them that information. And again, they only knew that they'd run out of stock when they opened the cupboard and the stuff wasn't there. So the same inventory management system that had provided PPE in Aberdeenshire, we were able to literally to lift and lay it and provide them with exactly the same thing, a shop with no prices on it, effectively saying, I want these, I want that, I want the next thing, and the back office operation being able to manage that out of a single system. So that's an example of using, there's a lot of open source tools out there already. The idea is obviously to repurpose them as much as possible. And I think part of the challenge sometimes is, is for a charity to see itself not in its charitable role, is actually to look at itself in terms of its operational delivery, and quite rightly so. It's not a criticism, but what we can do is have that conversation and say, oh, actually what you're talking about there is an inventory management system. We can go and do something else. A lot of the requests that we get are for websites. We're getting a few requests now around things like chatbots, or how do we manage sort of our operational systems at the back end. We don't I'd really like to be clear about this, that we do not believe that technology is going to solve all sorts of problems, in terms of the need that's out there. supporting people, but technology can be used like a really powerful tool to enable the people who do know what they're doing, the experts in your field, to reach more people, to do it more efficiently and more effectively, possibly faster. And I would love to be able to sell that kind of that enthusiasm, if you like, for technology, not to see it as a thing. It's just another tool in your box to deliver the services that you provide. So hopefully that's a good enough example.
Thank you so much. And I see that there's a question in the chat from Julie, and maybe that's something that you can answer quickly live, or if you prefer to enter in the chat. I'm not sure what your preference is there.
All right, just very quickly. So what limits boundaries on the problem, apart from a common problem across a number of systems that can be solved in a week? Actually, it's something that just, whatever your pain point is, frankly, is the best place to start. What hurts most at the moment is often a really great place to start on this. One of the nice things about being able to work with skilled volunteers in this way is that you can actually move a little bit more slowly. So it's not like a contract. It's not like you've got to have everything solved next Thursday. It's actually more around, a bit more of an exploration around, what it is that you're trying to do. It's not just about what it is that you're trying to do, it's about the people who are trying to do it. There's no point turning around and saying, well, you should totally use Office 365 and all of the suite and everything else, when 90% of the people who are working with you and the volunteers don't even know how to switch a computer on. So it's about making sure that Jane is the one who's actually used expression, meeting you where you are. What's the capability and the capacity within your organization? And let's start there first. And sometimes it's a case of saying, we'll fix a small thing first, and then we'll move on to the next thing, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And one of the things I absolutely love about what we do at the Tech Army is when people come back and ask for something else, because they're now thinking, right, what else can digital do for me? Because you solved that problem first time round, what else can it do for me? And can we have some help again? And, we're not a single use organization, more than happy to work with you more than once, as Jane will be delighted to hear, I'm sure.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kirsty. It was really wonderful to have you. Again, if anyone else has further questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and tag Kirsty so she can answer them. And we'll move on now to our next presenter. So it's lovely to be joined by Martin Spring, who is a professor of operations management at Lancaster University Management School. Martin will be presenting on their technology and professional services program, which helps UK-based mid-tier and smaller accounting and law firms to innovate using digital technology while generating new insights into adoption for the professional services sector. So Martin, take it away.
Thanks, and thanks very much for the invitation. Delighted to be here, and been very interested in the presentation so far. I'll go to the start of the presentation instead of slide 9. This is a project that's been underway for a few months now, funded by the Economic and Social Research Council and Innovate UK, and Innovate have already been mentioned. I'm leading this project from Lancaster, and got colleagues there from Oxford Brookes University, others from Lancaster, and Derek Southall, who's a technology consultant and runs Hyperscale Group, consulting in technology adoption in law firms. We called the project TIPS. It's part of a wider program of investment from Innovate and the ESRC, which I'll mention a bit more about in a moment. What we're about is, as the name suggests, accelerating innovation in adoption, and it builds on some work that quite a few of the team have been involved in previously, which was more about exploring the state of technology adoption in mid-tier and smaller law and accountancy firms, and in a sense that this is the next stage. This is doing something about it, and the emphasis is on adoption rather than tech innovation as such. And I'm talking about professional service firms here, and in this context, I want you to be very flexible in your interpretation of what I mean by firms. It might mean law centres, it might mean networks of organisations involved in your context, and we're especially interested to work in contexts other than the typical for-profit law and accounting firm. So we'd love for you to be involved in whatever way you can. I did mention the wider the project, and I'll scamper through this quickly. I know we're probably tight on time. This is the next generation professional and financial services investment, which covers law, accountancy, and financial services. We're involved in the law and accountancy aspect of this. There's a total of 20 odd million invested here in adoption and in supporting tech startups in a more conventional tech startup mode. So there's some to do with adoption, that's us, and some also to do with generating new technologies. And then other projects that are at various stages to do with data access. There's the wider networking function of the knowledge transfer network, and some new initiatives in the area of international collaboration. You may be interested to know that that's our project in the middle there. There's also an accelerator rather like ours run out of Bristol, which is into financial services, especially focusing on access to finance. So there may be some interesting overlaps, I think, between the two projects for our purposes and perhaps for yours. The basic, I suppose, starting point, this is a bit of an old slide now, but it conveys the question we're trying to adopt. There's a lot of technology out there, and we've heard about some more examples this morning. I don't know if those technology examples are on our slide, but anyway, I suppose our starting point is there's a lot of smaller and medium-sized law and accountancy firms thinking they ought to do something about technology, often AI underpinning it, but not necessarily, but they're not sure where to start. And that's, I suppose, the help we're trying to give in both diagnosing what technology might be useful and then helping in a modest way initially to help firms adopt a technology in their firms or organizations. I'll skip over the, sorry. The example there is one of Kira, which is a document review technology which is used in law, which is the kind of industry specific technology that we may be looking at in some of our examples. These are the team. That's three of us at academics at Lancaster University. We've also got a knowledge exchange team who will help us design and run some of our interventions. Cara Molyneux is a researcher who's working with us now, who's worked in SMEs, previously in SMEs, employing employees with disabilities. And Derek is our technology guru within the team. Then at Oxford, we've got people across different specialisms within business and management, so entrepreneurship, technology, innovation, just to convey the idea that we're mostly in business schools, but with different perspectives on this particular area of work, and with various degrees of experience in this particular context, so law and accounting and finance. So this is how it works. We'd like people to, as it were, join the community, follow what we're doing and benefit from it in whatever way possible. I suppose the central immediate core offering and activity is to participate in one of our, what we're calling 3 paths of acceleration. And we've designed these to try and be applicable to firms at different degrees of readiness, if you like, from firms starting from relatively low levels of tech experience, those who are ready to perhaps adopt some specific technologies in a particular practice area or process, and then those who are in path C already on the way to adopting technology and perhaps looking to roll it out more extensively. And then there's a wider remit, so that's very much aiming at a certain number of firms, and I suppose we'll work with 50 or 60 over the whole project who will engage with directly, but also to learn from our insights, and indeed part of the ambition is to try and change the world slightly so that it makes technology adoption a bit more accessible and approachable, and that's through working with professional bodies, the Law Society, ACCA in the accounting context, and other entities, and the SRN. I see what Warren's on the call here today. And we're running till September 2025. I'm going to quickly scamper through what each path consists of. So as I say, Path A is for really to help firms adopt technology, which they often have, as it were, under their noses already. And this is an offer of training to learn how to use something like Power Automate, to then apply it to a particular discrete business process. And we're interested in activities that are associated with actually delivering services, accounting or law, as well as running the business, as it were, back office activities. That activity will consist of training in multi-firm groups, and then working on a small project, and then as part of the acceleration model, participating in a demo day to share with a group and with the wider network what you've done and how it worked. And there are other resources that can be accessed, mentoring, online support resources that we're developing. We're running the first cycle in February to June next year, and then there'll be further cycles later on in the program, probably 4 in total. B, we're calling proof of concept, and that's for the adoption of more industry specific technology. So that might involve embarking on adopting a new technology new to the firm. By the way, we're not interested particularly in new technologies, fairly much established and proven technologies. It's adoption we're particularly interested in focusing on. And that will consist of working in a cohort, getting some diagnostic advice, peer support, mentoring, to adopt a technology in a particular practice area or in a particular office, say, of the organization. Yeah, so as I say, this is cohort-based, using some of the techniques we use for other management development programs at Lancaster, where the peer network is a really important part of the process. So through things like action learning sets and again, the demo day. So there's quite a lot of mutual support among those participating. And again, accessing the other resources that we have. That will start in March next year and run for 8 or 9 months. And finally, for firms that are, and organizations that are further on the way in adopting technology, this might be, and there'll be a very small number of these and quite case specific, but it might be rolling out a technology across a larger part of the organization, or doing something a bit more bespoke. And the support there would be rather tailored to the particular case. But it's about accelerating something, as it were, that's already underway. Yeah, and I won't dwell on that, but that will have an important element of from our research point of view, that the researcher will work closely with the adoption project, and again starting in the spring. We do just like to point out this is a research project, so firms will need to commit the time necessary and some kind of in-kind support or match funding. So commitment of staff time probably is the most relevant, and to agree to a certain amount of engagement with our research process and data collection, which would all be done with the usual research ethics and data protection considerations in mind. So please, what we're doing is asking organizations to submit an expression of interest, and then we would send a link to organizations to apply to participate if they want in one of the paths, or simply to just be part of the network. There's some deadlines. One of them you'll notice is today. I think I'm about to extend that deadline by a week. And there will be future cycles of Path A training as well. We have a LinkedIn site, so follow us there. That QR code takes you to the expression of interest form, and I'll leave that up once we've finished talking, or I've finished talking. We then need to review the applications and select in the end the firms that will take part. So there'll be a bit of a delay before we indicate who will be taking part, and particularly in the more complicated, as it were, bespoke areas of activity, there might well need to be some interaction to explore the proposal a bit more. As I've said, Path A will run 3 or 4 times. And there'll be other events. We're just developing plans for a festival of adoption, for example, in the new year. And so if you're on our books, we'll be in touch with to tell you about those things that we're doing. That's the website. That's our call out to you. And we are especially interested, as I said at the outset, in involving organisations that can help provide access to professional services for those who may not normally have ready access. How that might play out, we have yet to see, but we're ready to learn. And that's all from me. Happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Martin. I think, well, let's see if there's any questions. Maybe feel free to put them in the chat. I think for time's sake, we might move on to our last presenter, unless someone has a quick question that they would like to ask Martin. I'm trying to see, I don't see any hands, but I could be. Okay, I don't see any hands. So what we're going to do is move on to our last presenter, just for the sake of time. But again, if you have questions for Martin, please do put them in the chat. And Martin, thank you so much for that brilliant presentation. So our last presenter today, we're very happy to be joined by Jatinder Loyal from the SRA, who will be giving an overview of their RPF program, which seeks to stimulate technological solutions to progress alternative methods of dispute resolution instead of litigation, promote awareness for dispute resolution, and encourage its use. The Access to Justice Foundation is also providing support on this piece of work. So Jatinder, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Emmeline. Thank you, and morning, everyone. Yeah, it sort of feels like Emmeline said what we need to say in that summary, but no, I don't know whether you saw, but last year the Department for Business, Energy and everybody else, so BEIS as we called it, put out, as they all have been doing for the last 2 or 3 years, applications for money or funding for projects, and that's open to local government, other agencies, regulators, not-for-profit. So it's open. It's quite wide in terms of the reach. We were successful in a bid that we'd put in, which was looking, as Emmeline said, looking at sort of, yeah, is there a space for technological solutions to help resolve disputes without going to court? We'd already seen some work that had been done by people like the Civil Justice Council, which BEIS had done some research as well, and the Legal Services Consumer Panel had done work as well around, yeah, the pandemic had, should we say, increased the delays that people were facing at court, but also something that which highlighted as well was that not everybody needed to go to court to get their problems resolved. That a lot of consumers, so members of the public, and I'll call them micro businesses for now because it is the smallest of smallest businesses, that weren't resolving their disputes or problems through things like dispute resolution, and a lot of people, I think it's again something that we've probably just picked up from the compensation culture, which is that, yeah, I want my day in court. And when you look at the number of claims that are actually lodged with, whether it's the county court or anybody else, there was a large proportion that actually were just booted out, not because of delays, but the fact that there wasn't really a legal issue that needed to be resolved. It was just, yeah, a falling out between 2 parties. And that's where we thought, okay, dispute resolution, it's wider than, yeah, just having your day in court or having a legal problem resolved. It is that, yeah, if you've got a dispute or just something hasn't worked, there's issues with service provision, etc., then okay, can you get your problems resolved through ADR or alternative dispute resolution? We know that the sector is huge, so that's the dispute resolution sector, but we know also that not many people know about it. And that's something that we're picking up through the project, which is the first phase of the research, which is that not a lot of people know that there are alternative methods of getting disputes resolved, but also the technological side of things, which is where our focus is that, okay, if there are solutions that are out there, are they consumer facing or are they business facing? So are they there to say, yeah, we are a dispute resolution provider and we're using technology to aid that, or is it So the project that we've got going, as I said, we were fortunate.
I think just I don't know if it's just my screen. Is Jatinder paused for other people? Frozen?
Yes, yes, frozen.
Okay. Well, let's see if hopefully. Oh, maybe he will rejoin us.
I've just, Emmeline, I've just messaged Jay just to say we've lost him, just so he knows in case he thinks that he's still speaking, just to see if he's back.
Thank you, Warren.
I can say a couple of words in Jay's, while Jay's getting his tech sorted, just about the role of the Access to Justice Foundation in this project. So as Jay's given a really amazing outline of the project and what it's hoping to achieve, and our role in this really is to bring the wealth of kind of experience and expertise from the frontline free legal advice sector into this space to make sure that we're kind of, first of all, taking best advantage of all the evidence and learning that this community has created around dispute resolution and use and adoptability of technology more broadly, but also that we're exploring in future, when we're looking at the technology that we're applying, that we're making it accessible and serviceable to the communities that are supported by our kind of free legal advice sector colleagues as well. But Jay is back, so I'll hand back over to Jay.
Martha, sorry, thank you for jumping in. It's always good to have a, should we say, not a support tab, but yeah, a double act. But yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I got booted out very, very quickly. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, she said that the project started formally in September. And like I said, we've got, if you haven't seen already in terms of what Wales are doing, so Welsh Council and looking at developing a dispute resolution centre in Wales. So they've already started a lot of work, and there is a big focus on making it accessible. So making dispute resolution accessible through online platforms or technological solutions. The work that we're doing now, we're in the research phase. It's an 18-month project, and we're in the research phase where we'll look at, okay, doing the literature review, case studies, interviews, a bit of comparative analysis, but also then sort of that will help us then focus on, okay, where are the actual gaps? Is it an area of law? Is it a specific type of problem? Is it certain types of people? And then we can hopefully hone into the next part that will the next part of the project, which is then looking at, okay, what do we need to do next after we've done the research and engagement, and hopefully through what we find, we'll get people interested, people will come to us, we'll see technological solution providers, we'll see people that are actively involved in the dispute resolution space, but not through the technology side, and bringing those together to start hopefully testing and developing some of the products that can come through. And as Martha might have already mentioned as well, you know, it's not limited to, like I said, an area of law or a specific problem. This is what the research is hoping to do, to sort of focus where we need to sort of then put our next steps, or should we say focus our resources as part of the next part of the project. It is really, really interesting because there's loads of other stuff that's going on as well with the Minister of Justice. They've launched their online portal as well, which is again looking to deal with some of the problems with the delays in court. But I think where we've got a little bit of a niche on the project is that, yeah, it's helping identify solutions where, like I said, it might not be a legal problem as such, but there is just a dispute that can actually be sorted out. There's loads of other questions that need to be picked up as part of the research that we're doing, which is looking at, yeah, who's actually providing services, you know, do they need to be regulated, are there industry standards and all of that, so that will come through. And then even with the technology side of things, it's about testing it so that, yeah, it's easy to use, because I think that's one of the things that we've already seen through people going through court. It's just the cost of going through court, even if there are things like online forms, etc., that, you know, it's still costly for people to go through that process. And I think I heard someone at the beginning as well talking about, yeah, some people don't even know how to use simple things like Outlook and other sort of basic email platforms. So it's again making sure that whatever we get out of this and the people that we start engaging with post the research phase can make something really, really quite accessible. Something that I really focused on as part of the application was looking at those that are vulnerable. So those that haven't got English as their first language, or there's other protected characteristics, disabilities that potentially put people out of using technology in the first place. And I think that's something that we want to do, make whatever comes out of this as exclusive as possible. So Emmeline, Martha, I hope that's a quick, good summary. I'm just mindful of time that we needed to finish by 25 past. Sorry for, being booted out, but I'm, hopefully safely
Thank you
back in the
so
room.
much. We do have about a minute or two for questions. So if anybody has any questions on this project, feel free to jump in. I'm trying to go through and see if I see any hands.
I still can't find my hand, so I'm just going to jump in really quickly just to say that we'll be reaching out to kind of our broader community around this project specifically. So we've done a bit of desk-based research about kind of what the access to justice sector has put out in this space so far, but we will kind of reach out to everyone to see what else is out there, what other insights that people are having, and we'll bring that into this project.
There is a question, I think it's come from Sue, to say that would community mediation be part of this project? I can't see why not at this point. And again, it's just part of the research in terms of just understanding what's going on at the moment. As Martha said as well, that, access to justice will reach out to their stakeholders or people that normally engage with them. The Law Society are doing some research as well. They've got their YouGov survey that they can use, or the legal needs survey that they put out. And part of that, it might be that, that community solutions are actually developed because they're communal issues or community issues that people are seeing. So it's really interesting where this, there's so many different variants or where this could land potentially following the research piece. Like I said, we're not focusing on a specific area of law to say that, okay, all, service contracts for, washing machines, etc., have to be, this is what we're looking at. It's very much, let's start off doing the sort of landscape, checking what's going on where, and seeing where we can get some help. Just interesting on that communal point, I just saw something yesterday where there was discussion about people that are living in HMOs. They just haven't got the right access to, sorting out their problems, whether it's with council-owned properties or their, private landlords. So again, that sort of communal feel could definitely come out of the work. I don't know whether, Martha, you want to add to that?
I couldn't top that. Okay.
But if anybody's interested, we're going to be developing our communications plan. So I think post Christmas into January, you'll probably start seeing some news from us as the consortium. So Access to Justice, the SRA, and the Law Society, just putting out stuff that we're seeing. And people, if you're interested, get in touch with Martha. And for the SRA, you can email, if you're interested in the project, you can email us at innovate@sra.org.uk. So that's fairly easy, but I'll share the email address with Emmeline in case she needs to share it with those that have dropped off, but it's innovate@sra.org.uk. And we'll be happy to sort of start talking to you as we go through.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming in, Jay. It was great to hear that overview. And if you pop the email in the chat, that'll be great, so people will maybe be able to copy that. And that concludes our meeting. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of our amazing contributors today. As a reminder, if you want to email me with your PowerPoint presentations or any further documents that you'd like to be shared in the meeting follow-up, then I'll be able to include that. But thank you all for taking the time to share your learning and expertise with the community, and for using the chat function as well. I think we've got some really great content there that will be circulating in the follow-up as well. As everyone knows, this is currently a free session, so please do have a think about what you'd like to see, share, and discuss next year. If there are any particular projects that you'd like to highlight or issues that you'd like to explore, we're really happy to curate sessions around that. We really do want to hear from you. And we're going to be sending out a New Year schedule for all of our convened groups, including JIG and the Insights and Learning sessions in due course, so please watch the space. And then lastly, I just wanted to say, you know, thanks for being a part of this community this year. We're really looking forward to working with you next year. And we wish you a very happy holiday season and a happy new year. And we look forward to seeing all of you guys in 2024. So thank you so much for a great year.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you. Thanks so much.